here's where I think the Democrats do have an issue, is that the Republicans, for the first time, actually proved that you can find $3 billion in the general budget to fund roads.
Yep.
And that they're taking to the negotiating table, and that's where the Democrats are going to have a problem, because now they're like, oh, well, geez, maybe we don't necessarily have to raise all this revenue. Maybe there is money here.
But the real fact of the matter is Democrats don't have a plan. Whitmer has put forward a plan, but that does rely on
stress.
Right. But that does rely on Democrats to be able to put forward some legislation in order to further that plan. They haven't really done that yet. The Republican House has already passed its own plan, and the Democratic Senate has done nothing but sort of, poo-poo the fact that this has gone on the way it has. So what's your solution? You can't just say, not this. You have to offer something in return if you're trying to say that this is not the way to go.
Said that there is no budget without a roads plan. 2,800 people lose their jobs in construction as soon as next year if we don't get a roads plan. Where is the Senate's roads plan?
We continue to have conversations about a roads plan. I refuse to make the choice between funding schools and funding roads. So we continue to have that conversation.
Respectfully though, I mean, we're 8 months into the year. How much more conversating needs to be done before a roads plan comes out?
I have a question about road funding. Have you ever thought about calling Matt Hall on his bluff? Put forward a bill that showcases $3 billion worth in cuts and see if Republicans bite. Have you ever thought about using that tactic?
We are entertaining every possible means to get a responsible budget passed.
Why don't the D's just take that $3 billion and say, we're good, let's go?
I mean, sure, they could do that potentially. You're saying take the $3 billion.
Well, okay, we agree with you. There's $3 billion that we can use on the roads without raising taxes. Next question.
Just essentially adopt the House's roads plan, you're saying?
Yeah, sure. Assume
because
the money is there. do the Republicans get credit for going over, as the chair of the House Appropriations Committee said, line by line? That's why it took so long to get here. I don't remember anybody in the budget process saying we went over every line in the budget looking for waste. Can you remember anybody saying that?
I don't know if they've said it, but I'm sure that there are people who have. I mean, those budget documents are thick and weighty, as I'm sure all of us who have accidentally gotten stuck with them can attest to. But I do think that, they really did look for some unconventional cuts, and that could work to their advantage. You're putting people on the spot to defend programs that maybe they've just kind of automatically been rubber stamping for years.
I will say, to your point, do they get credit for going line by line? I think the answer to that is yes. I think they do get credit for that because in the past, we've got this very scripted way to get a budget done. And really, these subcommittee chairs, just historically, have what, a month, 2 months to go through these budgets, and that's just enough time to have all these special interest groups come into your office and say why we need this program and that program. And they said, you know what, we're going to take our time and we're actually going to learn about this budget. I mean, they took the DHHS budget, which is a complete monster, chopped it into 3, and actually dug into it. I give them credit for that. I think that's actually probably not a bad idea.
Okay, well, it'll come up in a little bit. Oh, look at this. You guys remember this photo? Yeah, I told all the people watching it on the Midwesterner stream, which is a lot of people, and then they're watching it on the House Republican stream, which hopefully the media is seeing. We're highlighting a lot of your great comments. So hopefully, if you guys watch it on the House Republican stream, you'll see beforehand we feature a lot of the journalists talking about things and giving a fair perspective, and we put it on the thread or on the so you can watch that before I come on. But we'll have to add this to the stream before, so they can see this beautiful picture that we hung up recently in the Speaker's Library of a great moment in bipartisanship, proving that Governor Whitmer and I can get things done when we work together. You see this beautiful picture of President Trump speaking at Selfridge Air National Guard Base while he is announcing a new fighter mission for Michigan. Myself, Eric Nesbitt, and Governor Whitmer there standing together. You can come up, Matt, when you want. This was a great moment in bipartisanship, and Ron Robinson, by the way, did a great job with the veterans budget, something the media doesn't talk about. The veterans budget, which increases funding for veterans. It's a great budget. We fund the Selfridge Air National Guard runway project to expand the runway so that we can help get Selfridge ready for President Trump's new fighter mission. So it's a fantastic photo, and I'm looking forward to a day very similar to this where, the Mad Dog and I stand next to Governor Whitmer and celebrate a new budget on time that ends SOAR, the failed economic development program, reins in this out-of-control Attorney General Dana Nessel, brings the state workers back to work, restores mental health and school safety funding. We're going to do National Guard. We're going to give them health care. Come up here. You're doing great. We're going to reform the food stamp program, and we're going to get that error rate down so we get all the federal funding. We're going to end the state fleet of EV vehicles and all of the EV chargers they don't build. We're going to take that money away. We're going to give our corrections workers a pay increase because they deserve it. And we're going to end the waste, fraud, and abuse in state government. And we're going to fund our roads without raising taxes, which is going to be a great windfall for our local government. So we're going to do all those things, and the budget's going to be smaller than it was last year. And I think if we do all those things, even the mad dog will be there with me and Governor Whitmer signing that deal, but we'll see. I'll just point out the Senate has no roads plan. Many of you know that the mad dog and myself and Chair Bolin met with the Senate today, and we are not getting anywhere. And we're not getting anywhere because the Democrats in the Senate do not have a roads plan. I want to see their roads plan. Remember, they said we can't do anything because we got to see the Republican budget. Well, it's not even a Republican budget because Democrat voted for it. It's a bipartisan House budget, and they saw it and it passed, and it's a very good budget. And I think that they see our budget, they see our roads plan. We've had a roads plan for many months. We did this a long time ago, probably April. We have a roads plan that funds the roads without raising taxes. We have a state budget. And we don't have a roads plan from the Senate. And I don't think it should be our responsibility to tell them what their roads plan is. I mean, if they don't have a roads plan, they can adopt our roads plan. We already came up with a plan. We showed it to them, and they could do it very easily by ending the corporate giveaways, and eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse in government and directing it to roads through the corporate income tax, and then putting all of the gas money collected at the pump, all of the tax collected at the pump going to roads instead of other things. I mean, Michigan is one of the lowest states in the country for percentage of gas tax that goes to roads. I mean, they're one of the highest they collected, and then the least amount goes to roads. So we can dedicate all of the money at the pump to roads, and we can eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the corporate giveaways and the pork projects for politicians. If we dedicate all that through the corporate income tax to roads, we don't have to raise taxes. We've shown that. I give our leaders here, Ann Bolin and Matt Maddock, credit. They've been combing through the numbers, and we've talked about the $5 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse that Matt Maddock and Ann Bolin found in the state budget. Well, we just found some new information that it's actually closer to $1 billion in the phantom ghost jobs every year that these departments are squirreling away as they're building this $6 billion slush fund. Now, one thing that we see, and some of you reported on this, is the state is starting to make, I think is it hundreds of millions of dollars in interest? It's a lot of money. You guys reported on it. We're going to have the number next week. But they're making so much interest because they have so much money just sitting in these accounts not being spent. And I remember we read some of the reporting, and I think it was in MERS, and it basically said, when Snyder was governor, it was a small line item. And now it's a very large line item, all of the interest that the government is making off of all this money that's sitting in these accounts. And that's probably what first turned us on to this, is say, how are they making tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars in interest off of money that's just sitting in accounts? And then we uncovered all these ghost accounts, these accounts where the departments, they lie about what the money's for. They lie they have. Yeah, and then they squirrel it away, and it's over $6 billion just sitting there. We direct some of that money to paying off debt, to fixing the roads. We can put $330 million more a year into roads if we pay off the governor's road bonds. So we propose doing things like that rather than keeping it in these government accounts for paying off roads for decades when we could pay them off now. So you go through that and you say, where is the Senate Democrats' roads plan? They don't have one. But I give you guys credit. I mean, you just see right in a week, these guys have already found more waste, fraud, and abuse. And I don't know if I have the number here. It might be in one of our slides. But it's something, I think it's around $177,000 on average each one of these ghost employees is getting, if you count their wages and their benefits, right? And you think about that, that totals up to, I think it's 750 million, so it's almost $1 billion. And that's money that they're collecting from taxpayers, and they're just keeping, they're holding on to it. So we're going to end that practice pretty fast. So I'm going to go through some slides in a little bit. I think you guys will enjoy them. I want to help you guys understand the state budget a little better. Maybe when he brings to watch this, and she'll learn a little bit too. Because, you know, there's nobody that knows the budget better than Ann Bolin and myself and Mad Dog. And so, you know, it is probably a mismatch when we get into the room with Sarah Anthony and when he brings. And but we're doing it because we want to solve problems, we want to keep the government open, and we want to get value for your tax dollars. So I'll turn it over to the chair if you want to make some opening comments.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Vice Chair Maddock. He's been a great partner. We started on appropriations together back in 2019, and it's great to actually be on this journey forward and be here where we're actually cutting government spending. Yes. And, you know, I think you saw in our presentation last week at the press conference reading through our budget, one is we didn't have to gut it to cut it. We just had to really comb through this. We did it, very deliberative process. You know, reducing these FTEs, pulling money back from the work projects, those are not painful. Those I wouldn't even call cuts. I would call that, you know, really reinvesting in state taxpayer dollars. We need to do that. We've made it clear our priorities. We laid all of our cards on the table. We went through a deliberative process. What I've been hearing this last week is some people say, oh, you didn't go through the traditional process. We never started out of the gate that we were going to go through the traditional process. Yes, we turned things upside down. We turned them inside out. And I'm very proud of the work. Our subcommittee chairs have been very, very involved in it, in really helping us put forth a really good budget that is fiscally responsible, it's structurally balanced, it targets all of the priorities of people across Michigan. We were on a mission for Michigan, and this budget does deliver that. I want to put in perspective what that looks like. Both the executive and the Senate put forth budgets of over $83 billion. They both included a reference to needing $3 billion for roads. So that takes them somewhere to 86 or 87, maybe $88 billion budget. We showed that we could do it for much less than that, under 80 billion, fund $3.4 billion for roads, reduce debt, not take on any more long-term liabilities, record investments in education, which I might say that proposal still sits over in the Senate chamber. They left for summer vacation. We've been here working all summer long. So we are ready to deliver. Today you saw how important a roads plan is. We've heard the estimates of anywhere 10,000 to 20,000 jobs. These are critical to the state of Michigan, maybe more important than maybe 200 or 400 jobs that we're seeking overseas. We need to keep these people employed here. These are our people. So I look forward to continuing this. I guess I would call it actually a journey, but I'm confident if there's a will, we can get this done by September 30th. But there has to be a will to make cuts. It's not about growing government. The money is simply not there, and we cannot continue on that course. Rob Maddock? Okay.
You know, I like talking about the things that no one else wants to talk about or the fake news won't cover. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight of what really is happening here in Lansing. And I've been doing this for quite a few years. And so the Democrats don't have a road plan. And today's a very important day for all of us. And I think Gretchen Whitmer's in Fiji or something like that, talking about bringing 200 jobs back here. Our road plan is worth 10 to 20,000 great paying jobs in Michigan, okay? And the reason that the Democrats are so stubborn with this budget and the reason they want to increase taxes is because all the lobbyists in town are focused not on the Republicans. They are completely focused on the Democrats right now. And they are in high gear because the Democrat Party for the past 4 years has been spending billions of our dollars on pork projects that are feeding all these lobbyists. The lobbyists have gotten everything they want in Lansing for the past 4 years, and we're stopping it. And they are upset with us, but they are working full-time with the Democrats. And the reason that the Democrats can't put together a budget is because they can't do it without increasing taxes, because that's what the lobbyists want. They want bigger government, more taxes, and more money in their pockets.
Yeah, no, and you would know. I mean, you've been uncovering a lot of the waste, fraud, and abuse. I'm going to try to use this. Look at this. That's nice. But yeah, no, great points. And I'll just say, I think that what's clear is in order to move forward on this budget, we need to see the Senate roads plan. And you saw thousands of people here at the Capitol today calling on the Senate to deliver a roads plan so we can do roads, education, public safety, and Medicaid.
Yeah, and those people outside, 4 years ago, those were people supporting the Democrat Party. All these road builders and all these people that are doing roads, they like our plan, and they're supporting us now, and I would be worried if I was Gretchen Whitmer.
Interesting, yeah. So I'll just work through some things here. I'm going to educate the press a little on the budget. But you look at, this is the value for my dollars budget, what it accomplishes. It eliminates waste, fraud, and abuse. You see, we fund the roads fully, $3.4 billion without a tax hike. Highest education funding of any plan. No Democrat plan has more money for education. We fund the Public Safety Trust Fund, which is going to help our communities that are mostly in Democrat places get all of the money they need to fight violent crime. That's going to be really important. We do no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, and the budget is smaller than it was before, which is really important to our caucus. We eliminate over $5 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse, and we put $3.4 billion into roads. We eliminate the $750 million in the phantom ghost employees that Matt Maddock and Ann Bowen have been doing a great job finding. Now they have $6 billion in slush fund. We only take $2.5 billion of the slush fund. We rein in $125 million of their failing IT projects. We end the SOAR program, which has failed, these failed economic development deals where they give hundreds of millions of dollars to the big corporations. And we're going to get SNAP, which is the food stamps working, so we get all the federal money. I'll just compare this to the Democrat plan, so the media is straight. Our plan on education, which has been sitting there for months, would be $12,000 per pupil, which is a 20% increase for our local schools, record school funding. We give flexibility to all of the schools so that they can make the decisions instead of the Democrats up here, which in Lansing, they just try to shove things in there for the lobbyists, and it's not working. Our scores are very low on reading and education and math, and we want to restore the school safety and mental health funding. You remember the Democrats cut this 92%. It's one of the reasons they lost the election. We're going to put it all back in there and have a school resource officer in every school district. I'll just point, this talks a little bit about our public safety. I'll leave that. You can take pictures if you want. This was key. No tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. That's going to be in the final budget. It was in our plan.
How could anyone disagree with that? It doesn't make any sense.
No, we're going to get that one. Look at this, $78 billion by eliminating $5 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse. And we fully fund roads, $3.4 billion. Great job, Ann and Matt. And look we're getting, by the way, hopefully the press will cover this, we're getting rave reviews about this budget, the value for my dollars budget. The EMS workers very strongly support our budget. They applaud it. These EMS workers, the first responders, every day fighting for us and keeping people safe, and they're very high on our budget. They love it. Hopefully you can read this. The Small Business Association of Michigan is very strong supporters of our budget, pointing out how we are fulfilling our commitment to find $3.4 billion to put into roads and a record $10.2 billion transportation budget. By the way, did you guys see, it's that we should have put this in here, Brandy. The Transit Association loves what we're doing. They love what we're doing, and we're requiring them to make, they have to collect some money. It can't be empty. Right. But they're going to get a boost in this, and they came out in favor of it. Now, the most respected policy organization in the state, the West Michigan Policy Forum, and one of their leaders, John Kennedy, complimented our budget. They talked about how we took the unspent pork from the past to pay off road debt. Borrowing from the past takes away from building the roads we need for the future. Paying down this debt now will mean better roads for tomorrow. So when you get this kind of an endorsement from the West Michigan Policy Forum, you know your budget's on the right track. This is incredible. No budget has gotten an endorsement like this from the West Michigan Policy Forum, the most respected policy forum in the state of Michigan. Now, we just wanted to explain this to you guys because I know the media needs some help with this. So this is example every year of under Governor Whitmer, how many of the phantom employees exist across government. And as we do this in future weeks, I'll start breaking down the departments for you a little more and showing you. But just to, just to kind of explain this to you, I mean, you look at this, in FY20, there's 3,800 of these phantom employees across government. FY21, 4,700. FY22, 5,100. FY23, 3,300. FY24, 4,900. And so you can go through these budgets year after year after year, and you can see trends in certain departments that, and we're going to start breaking that down. I have MSP today, but we'll go through some more another time. This is where our additional work with Chair Bolin and Maddock, on average, when you really dig into the numbers, they're setting aside $176,100,000. So $176,100 per person for these phantom jobs. And you can go through this and you can say, you look at departments and you say every single year these departments are overshooting by hundreds of jobs, and then they're work projecting the money and they're building slush funds. And that's how we have $6 billion right now sitting in these accounts that is making tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in interest instead of paying down debt and being spent. They're basically using your dollars, the public, to make money for government.
I think they're committing fraud, to be personally honest.
A lot of people are saying that. So I'll go through the Michigan State Police, right? So you can look at these, you look through what they come up with. So, in 1920, it's almost 600 workers extra. 2021, 697 workers. 21-22, 755 phantom workers. 22-23, 640 phantom workers, okay? 23-24, 771 phantom workers, okay? So this year, we anticipated 737 phantom workers in the state police. And I'm just saying, when you go through this and you see every year they're asking for between 600 and 737 jobs. Well, it's higher than that. 600 and 755 jobs that they can't fill. At what point would you say this is inaccurate? They are not budgeting correctly.
I want to say something here.
Yeah.
Okay, because the fake news needs to understand this. The Democrats' talking point is the Republicans are going to cut police officers. We're gutting the state police. Our budget does not get rid of one state police trooper, okay? We're just not paying them for the 737 they're short. We're not going to pay that salary in advance for the people they can't hire. And the reason that the Michigan State Police can't hire troopers is because they are demoralized and they've had horrible woke leadership. So we give them all the money they need to hire as many as they can this year or next year. Maybe they hired 112 or 110, hopefully. But we're not going to pay them for 500 troopers that they cannot hire because they are so demoralized.
Right, and if we can divert, we talked about every department has something like this, okay? So if you start adding that up, it comes to the $750 million that we're talking about every year that they squirrel away and put into these accounts in waste, fraud, and abuse. That has now become $6 billion. So I'll just go through this. Another one of the big areas of waste in the state budget is IT. We're going to get into the more every week into this, but I'll just point out, we all know the MySACWIS system. Do you guys remember that? They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this system. I think it was 300 million. I don't know if Greco's here, but what do you think it was, Chris?
231.
Yeah, 231 million, not 230, $231 million on the failed MySACWIS IT system that was supposed to help with our child welfare system. The court came to them and said after 5 years, this is so messed up, we're just going to get rid of this and start over, and they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more on the new system. Every department of government has something like this. We saw with the Secretary of State's IT system that it didn't work, and it still doesn't work, and the price keeps going up, and they get to, not perform. We see a lot of these government IT systems that live forever. So what we're going to do is we're going to start reducing the spending on these programs. They're not working. So we cut this $175 million as part of our efforts to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in government. We'll be going into more detail in this in future weeks. Now, this is the total, I believe it's all of the departments, but it's most of them. Just to explain how we get to this $6 billion of money sitting in these accounts that is really, so we have MSP on here, I believe, 183 million. So you see that. So what MSP does is they take, like we showed before, how there's 600 or 700 extra workers in MSP that they don't fund. They keep collecting that, right? It adds up over time. They spend some of it when they need to, but they've amassed a war chest of $183.2 million in the state police by budgeting more than they're going to spend, and then just adding it up over time. You get this $6 billion slush fund. You can see this number right here. It's actually $6.1 billion.
You know what? If this is happening in state government, imagine how much of this stuff is going on in local government at all levels. I mean, we have, thank God we had DOGE to start to discover this stuff, but, what we're onto here, this, in my opinion, this fraud, they are using money that was appropriated to use for a specific purpose by the lawmakers in this town, the people that were elected to tell government where and how to spend money. And they are completely ignoring us. They are violating their constitutional oath to hold their office, and this very may be embezzlement, or there could be criminal charges in here. And a lot of this money that's being misspent and misappropriated and literally like squirreled away. I mean, whatever you want to call it, that money is federal money too, and the Department of Justice may be looking into this.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
So you look into this, though, and you see all of these departments have gotten these war chests, and you get the $6.1 billion, and that's why we say, let's take about half of it, and let's just pay off the governor's debts on roads, and we can free up $330 million a year. But to continue to, that will pay for roads. Theoretically, you could take $6 billion and do one big $6 billion infusion into roads if you wanted to, but I think it's smarter to take this big one-time funding, put it into paying off debt so we can free up more money year after year, and that'll help us solve our roads problem. $330 million a year over, many years paying off the bonds is going to add up. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the indigent defense, another area of waste, fraud, and abuse, probably all three, honestly. But when you look at this, so I'm just going to explain this. So they are one of these areas that does the same thing. So they ask for, 200 million or whatever. They get this funding, 250 million, year after year. we looked, they have $50 million sitting in their account that they didn't spend. And then they're asking us for another $250 million this year. And we just said, wait a minute, you have $50 million you've squirreled away and you're holding on to in your account. We're not going to give you another $250 million. We'll give you $200 million. You'll have your $250 because you spend the money you have, and then we'll take that other $50 and we put some of that into our giving it to our prosecutors. I mean, in many cases, and you know what a scam this is, right? I mean, they're paying these indigent defense attorneys more than prosecutors sometimes. It's incredible. Why is that on there? Why do you guys have that on there? You're just showing the Microsoft Teams to the press.
Do you have the civil rights budget?
Yeah, we'll get into that. Yeah. I hope we have it on there. You guys probably shouldn't have the Teams on there, but the next one's probably, the media. Maybe one of the lobbyists that's giving you all the waste, fraud, and abuse. Hopefully they don't email us right now. I just want to explain this. This is some fake reporting from the press that I wanted to lay out. So they talk about this sexual assault test kit backlog. So I just want to be clear. The Attorney General has $4.6 million work project sitting in her slush fund tied to this. And whether it's the governor, the Senate, or us, nobody proposes increasing the spending. What everyone is proposing is spend the $4.6 million on the backlog. The money they've asked for is $4.4 million, so they have $4.6 million to address this. Okay, and the reason is because they're not spending the money year after year after year. They're not finishing the job. You see the Attorney General focused on things like going after President Trump and prosecuting her political opponents rather than reducing this backlog and spending the money that the legislature keeps appropriating to her. She has $4.6 million sitting there dedicated to this in her account, and it costs $4.4 million. We're just saying, spend the money, get the job done, and if you need more, we'll fund it. And if you look, that's the same position that everybody else takes. The governor takes that position, but yet the media attacks us. It's amazing. This is a really good one. So, I'm talking to a lot of local government officials that really like our budget. There's a lot of false narratives in the press. There's not a cut to revenue sharing in this budget. In fact, they come out with $2.6 billion more than they have now, the local governments. If you look at this, $3.4 billion to roads. Of that, I believe about $2 billion, maybe $2.2 billion is going directly to local governments. We take away some of the requirements under the Neighborhood Roads Fund where the local governments and the townships have to put a match up, so that benefits them. We give them the Public Safety Trust Fund, which for the first time in Michigan's history, the local governments are going to be getting money direct, both counties and local municipalities, to fight violent crime. And there's money in the budget we mentioned before to the county prosecutors that we took out of the money that the Indigent Defense Fund did not need. So you look at that, and the local governments are coming out great. I mean, they're coming out better than anybody, and many local government officials are praising our plan. I just want to point this out. This was one of the big falsehoods we saw in the press. The press fell for the Democrat lies, saying that we eliminated money for lead lines. This line item here is $10 million for sewer and water infrastructure upgrade grants. This is right from the House Fiscal Report, $10 million. If you look at what the Senate does, the Senate proposes $10 million. They just do it in a different line item. They even call it the same thing. This is just a falsehood from the press, and hopefully they correct their stories and get it right. Yeah, one of the biggest lies I'm hearing are from the hospitals, and I really think they should consider replacing their leadership. Is his name Brian Peters? Not a very good leader. He's leading their organization in a direction toward the Democrat Party. But I look at this, I mean, you don't hear, when are the hospitals going to say thank you to President Trump for the $250 million Michigan's expected to get from the One Big Beautiful Bill for rural hospitals. You never hear them talk about it. You don't hear them thank us for putting it in our budget. It's not in the Senate budget, but then the Senate budget is billions of dollars out of whack and outdated. I'm just saying we give them $250 million and they say they're going to close. You notice you do anything and they say they're going to close. They cry wolf so many times. The fact is the hospitals are just mad about the One Big Beautiful Bill. They don't like the work requirements. We support work requirements, and the work requirements are going to ensure that the Medicaid system survives over time. It doesn't pad the pockets of the hospital CEOs, and many of these hospitals are very profitable. And then they are going to ensure that the people that Medicaid was intended for get it. And we're going to give them, even though they're very, very negative Democrats, the hospitals these days, we're still going to give them $250 million from the One Big Beautiful Bill to ensure that the rural hospitals continue to stay afloat and do well, because we support hospitals, even though Ryan Peters is leading them in a bad direction. And they're becoming very Democrat partisan, and they're attacking Trump, and they're attacking us, and they cry wolf on everything. I mean, they said they needed 340B. I don't know, because you look at this, they cry wolf on everything. They could say, why don't they put out a statement thanking us and President Trump for the $250 million? Instead of being so negative and so partisan. I don't agree. And, you know, they got to get over it. The One Big Beautiful Bill is the law of this country. And we're going to implement the One Big Beautiful Bill in Michigan, including the $250 million for rural hospitals in Michigan, which we're very proud of. And I would just say, stop taking it out on us, okay? You lost, and the One Big Beautiful Bill is there, and the Medicaid work requirements are going to happen. So I'm sorry. They'll come up with some other way to pad their bottom line. And you see this, you know, it's really a slush fund scam, this, what do they call it, QEP? And they're getting rid of that in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Hospitals don't like it, but it's going to happen. The corrections officers get a $4,000 raise per officer under the House Republican budget. It's a 19% pay increase. The Michigan State Troopers get a 20% pay increase. That's one of the largest raises in MSP history. We eliminate all the phantom jobs, but we give them the pay increases, particularly for our corrections workers and our state police, that we have so much respect for. They do a great job for us, and they deserve to be, this is probably even higher than these. You look at this, Senate spending spree, $85 billion versus the House Republican, $78 billion. And we fund roads and they don't. Yeah, this is a true, the Senate budget is $4 billion out of balance. They kick 60,000 people off Medicaid. You'd think the hospitals would talk about that. They would say, rather than us implementing the One Big Beautiful Bill and putting on work requirements and them not liking it, there's 60,000 people that are eligible for Medicaid that the Democrats are kicking off Medicaid in their budget. You think the hospitals would be concerned about that? Right. The Democrats take away $2,500 from child care. It's not good. They have no roads plan, no transparency on earmarks, and fee hikes. Not good. And we're not going to have any of these things in a final budget. There will be no fishing and hunting license fees increases. There'll be no watercraft registration fee increases. And there will definitely not be a change to our recreational passport fee. They want to make it where they force everyone in Michigan to pay for it. It's not happening. Ken Borton's not going to let it happen. So you add this up. The Senate budget that we're dealing with right now is $4.5 billion out of balance, which means they spend $4.5 billion more than we have. That's not a responsible budget, and it's hard to negotiate with somebody who's spending $4.5 billion more than you have right off the bat. The $3 billion that their roads plan will cost that they don't pay for, the $1 billion, and we're going to, hopefully we get into this later, the $100 Sarah Anthony checks that she's handing out, and the $500 million that Medicaid is underfunded in this budget, even their own political economist, David Zinn, agrees with that. And they're spending $30 million, there's $30 million short on childcare. So, yeah, in order to balance their budget, they'd have to spend $90 billion.
I wonder how much of a gas tax increase they'd have to do to meet these numbers.
That's a good question. I mean, think about that. $90 billion. So you know, we don't have $90 billion. This is $4.5 billion we don't have, at least. And they're trying to negotiate, they're saying a $90 billion budget is the same as a balanced budget that reflects the current realities we face. I mean, if I did a $100 billion budget, the media would attack me and say, we don't have $100 billion. When they have a $90 billion budget they would need, you guys give them a pass. I'm not going to go into this, but I just noticed that there's almost $1 billion of these $100 payments from Sarah Anthony to all of these different things. And you look at it and you say, what are these people going to do with $100? I mean, imagine if Sarah Anthony really succeeds in giving $100 to the Roseville Science Facility. What is that going to accomplish? What are they going to do with $100? The Mount Clemens Planetarium, what are they going to do with $100? There's a billion, I believe we looked this up and we said, all right, if they funded all of these things the way that they should fund them, it would be $1 billion. And that's a conservative estimate. I mean, you look at this in DHHS, $100 foster care rate increase, that's not going to go very far. $100 foster parent recruitment. I mean, what parent is going to do just one parent for $100? It's not going to happen. But Sarah Anthony keeps handing out these $100. I mean, $100 for tobacco prevention and cessation, that's not going to go very far. $100 for a septic system database in Eagle, that's not going to do very much. This extreme weather forestry restoration for $100, they're not going to restore very many trees for that, I'll tell you. $100 for ambulance provider reimbursements. I'm sure that'll keep those ambulances afloat. That's probably why you see the ambulances endorsing our budget. They really like our budget. $100 for Crime Stoppers, $100 for small farm grants. This is $100 for ice storm relief for maple syrup. That's not going to keep one maple syrup farmer in business. And these are everywhere. There are hundreds of these throughout the budget, and that's just another indication of how out of balance this budget is. They put all these things in there, and they don't even fund them yet. And that's why the real balance of this budget is over $90 billion, and we don't have anywhere near that to spend. So just to look through this, right? The Democrats want to reveal the earmark recipients after the vote. They want to hide that from you until after the vote. The Republicans, under the HEAT plan, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, we reveal it before the vote, which is really important. We had public hearings before we gave out the earmarks. We are breaking up these budgets into line items that are much more reasonable than what they have now. So you can see that. This is, and no one will report this, so I put this on the screen. So I come up here every week and I tell the media that the House Republicans, under the HEAT plan, the Hall Ethics, Accountability, and Transparency Plan, would disclose the earmarks. The Senates are holding up the state budget because they don't want to disclose the earmarks. So to break this down, the Senate has no roads plan. They don't want to disclose earmarks until after the vote, right? They want to keep spending hundreds of millions of dollars in secrecy where you don't know what it was until after the vote. And nobody knows what these things are. The House says we want to know who the sponsor is. We want to know what the beneficiary is. We want to know what the public benefit is. We want to do all these things. And we did it months before we even had a vote. And this is from the Senate bill, and it makes it clear. The list will not be compiled until 10 days after the act is effective. Okay? And yet the media won't say that the Democrats will not disclose their earmarks until after the vote. Really, it's after the bill's signed they won't disclose their votes. So no roads plan from the Senate. Out of balance. It's hard to negotiate with a budget that really spends $90 billion, and they're not doing anything to move on transparency, where we want all these projects disclosed in advance under the House rule. That's what's holding up this state budget from getting done. I'll just go through this real quick. In each of these departments, this is what the number was under Snyder, and this is what it is today. So you can see the Attorney General grew 22% under the Democrat trifecta. Our budget would cut it 14% from the Snyder number. So I'll just go through these real quick so you can see them. Look at this, the Civil Rights Department. I guess we didn't get into this on the slides, but I'll talk about it now. So we looked at this department. You can see right now it's $13,592,000. Their work projects are over $14 million. Okay, so you want to understand why we cut this budget?
So they have $14 million in the bank,
Yes.
on top of the $13 million they want.
Yeah, or whatever it is. It's more than what they requested, so I may have the numbers wrong. It was $1 million more than what the governor funds them at. Is that, do you have oh, Chris went away.
It's right.
Yeah, so what is it, 14 million in? $14.5 million in work projects. So this department, year after year after year, has asked for so much more money than what they're spending that they have $14.5 million in a bank account.
In a savings account.
Yeah, so if we didn't fund them, they'd have $1 million more. And then we cut it a little bit because we're just, why are these departments hanging on to $14.5 million when that's more than their annual budget? It's incredible. Secretary of State, you can see where that's at. DTMB, so, you know, this has increased, the Technology Management and Budget Office has increased 36% since Whitmer became governor. Our budget, even though we take a cut to it and eliminate a lot of the, some of the wasteful IT programs, is still a 7% increase from when Snyder was in office. You look at the Treasury Department, our budget would be a 28% increase from when Snyder was in office for Treasury, but it cuts a little bit, it cuts. Leo, this one we've talked about, is a 92% increase under Governor Whitmer. It'd still be a 2% increase from where we are back to when Snyder was governor. And we eliminate SOAR, we eliminate the pork projects, we eliminate a lot of these councils that are a waste of taxpayer dollars. We eliminate the Office of Global Michigan, a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse there that you guys eliminated. Transportation budget, 98% increase to almost $10 billion right here because we fund the roads to where they should be in order to fix our roads finally. Health and Human Services up 23% since Rick Snyder left office under our plan. So you can see the money is still bigger than it was under Snyder in many of these departments, but we're eliminating the waste, fraud, and abuse, and we're directing it to roads. Agriculture is down 9% since Snyder. Natural resources down 5%. State police up 14%. Since Snyder left office under our proposal. Military and Veterans Affairs up 41%. DIFs, Insurance and Financial Services under our budget up 8% since Snyder left office. LARA, Licensing and Regulatory Affairs up 3% since Snyder left office. EAGLE is still up 67% since Snyder left office under our budget. So when Matt Maddox says he could find $500 million more in waste, fraud, and abuse if I gave him another week, I bet you could.
Within a day, probably.
Yeah, you probably could. Department of Corrections still up 5% from when Snyder left office. Judiciary still up 2% since Snyder left office. And that's the state budget. So I just thought I'd give you guys a little education. We'll keep doing this every week to help you guys understand, because when you look through the House fiscal documents, you wouldn't know all this information. So I don't know if there are any questions, but we'll take them. Yeah, go ahead.
Attorney General Nessel this morning was pretty critical of the cuts to her department under the proposed House budget. Can you respond to that?
What did she say?
She mentioned a couple programs, specifically the prosecuting the programs where, like the counties where the Attorney General has taken over the county prosecutions and appellate court prosecutions in, I think, 56 counties, she said would go away because it's not statutorily required. They wouldn't be able to do that anymore. Cuts to the sexual assault rape kit testing and other FTEs cut. I think about 50% of their general funds being cut as well.
Yeah, I guess I would ask her, why is she sitting on $4.6 million for rape kit testing? Why didn't she spend that money? Why isn't she keeping up with the pace that she promised to in order to get all those things resolved? Because she has $4.6 million that she's already been appropriated, that she's not spending, specifically dedicated to that in her work project. So I would ask her, why is it that Governor Whitmer didn't fund the request? Why is it that the state Senate didn't fund the request? Spend the money, and if you need more, you'll get more. I mean, I worked for Attorney General Schuette. We worked really hard to start working on that issue. I mean, you have a very bad situation in Wayne County where the prosecutor wasn't on top of that, and they found all those kits, and it's been 10 years, probably longer than that, and they're still, why can't they do that in like a few months? It takes 10 years, but hopefully they get through it and they get all that done, and they find people that committed sexual assaults years ago, and they put them behind bars, and we'll continue to support that effort, but they need to spend the money they're appropriated, and they need to stick to their schedule that they promised to. There's a lot of people counting on that to get done. And then we give, I don't remember, is it 50 million more to county prosecutors, or is it less than that? Is it 25 million to county prosecutors? So, that'll go pretty far with the county prosecutors. I just say the Attorney General should stop spending her money prosecuting her political opponents and suing the Trump administration, and she should start doing things that help. I mean, this is supposed to be the people's lawyer. She's supposed to be doing that. I would encourage her to get back to that mission. And our budget will require her to do that, because no more will the days be where she gets one line item called operations. Now it's going to be broken up into specific departments with specific tasks. We want them to be working on elder abuse and all the things they need to work on, but they need to stop. She needs to stop going after her political opponents.
There's so many old people in Michigan that are getting scammed left and right, and she's not focusing on those crimes. She's focusing on everything else but the things she needs to focus on, because, in my opinion, and I'm familiar with it because I'm a bail bondsman, there is a huge arena right there she's not doing her job. And all these old elderly people are being taken advantage of every single day, and it involves hundreds of millions of dollars in Michigan.
Yep. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
What are your thoughts on the MEDC employees avoiding writing their transparency documents?
Yeah, we've seen a number of problems from the MEDC over the years. I mean, when I was the oversight chair, we'd get these audits back from the state auditor general that said they wouldn't even check to see if these jobs were created before they paid out the money to the big corporations. And you look at that and say, they would just call, say, hey, did you create the jobs? The employer would say, yeah. They'd send them money from the taxpayers. And then the auditor general said, you're supposed to verify this, and they weren't. So does it surprise me that they're not requiring their board to do their yearly conflict of interest disclosures? No, it doesn't surprise me at all. The MEDC has been a mess for years, and it hasn't gotten better under Quentin Messer. I know you were going to talk about some of the one-time funding. I wanted to give you that chance.
Thank you. So one of the other things that there seems to be quite a bit of confusion on that I read a lot in the press, it says that we're cutting the House budget cuts. Doesn't necessarily. One-time funding is one-time funding. That's intent is that it's not ongoing. It's one time for a special purpose. And September 30th, the trough is no longer full. It's empty. Shouldn't really be converted into a work project either, but we've seen a lot of misinformation about that as well. Now, I will say it's probably not that uncommon that you would think, well, why would one time be just one time? Because in the past, that is somewhat how Lansing is operated. They call it one time, but it actually is ongoing and ongoing. But we are trying to correct the problem and reroute how we do this. But that is important when you are looking through the budget and the line items to understand one time means one time. So it's not a cut, it's that it's not a second time.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And you did such a great job on your earmarks, went through those with disclosure and hearings and ensuring these were one-time expenditures, not they get in there and then they become permanent government programs. Yeah, Beth?
How many of the FTEs that you guys are eliminating were left like temporarily vacant as the departments try to rehire new people to fill like retirements or people who left the department?
Do you want to say anything about that? I mean, I would just say that, look, I mean, I showed you the state police. They all look like this. Some are a little smaller, but do you believe them that they're going to create 600, they're going to fill 600 jobs this year? And I think when you can start looking at these trends, you can say no. And so when we start cutting funding for that, and if you start looking at our budgets, this is something we should make sure we show them. We're not cutting all of them. We're just cutting some of them and redirecting it. You know, in our budget, we fund 2 trooper academies for the state police. No one else does that. And then we encourage that. We put a reasonable number in there for an increase in employees in that and corrections. And the idea is if you increase their pay, you have more trooper academies, you can grow the department, but you're not going to hire. If you haven't done it in the first 6 years of Whitmer, they're not going to do it this year. They're not going to hire. It's like 800 vacancies in corrections. It's like 600 vacancies in state police. They're not going to do it. So,
and if they did, we can give them more money.
Right.
We can always do another bill.
Wouldn't it be fun to do a supplemental that did that instead of just loaded up all the lobbyists? Yeah. Wouldn't that be interesting?
If they were necessary positions.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah. You know, on the FTEs, what we're also found out going through our process is that sometimes what we hear back from the departments is, well, we're actually contract. We have subcontracts for those positions. Well, to me, that's not being very transparent. And as an appropriator, tell me that. Like, why are you contracting? Put it as another line item. Let's be transparent and hold accountable. Why don't you have those positions filled? Sometimes we hear that, oh, we can't find anybody to fill. They don't like the wages may be too low, whatever. It could be a number of reasons, but most of those positions are vacant positions, and the ones that aren't, that they're filled by contract employees or subcontract companies, let's put that as a line item. Let's show that.
So you don't know how many of the ones you eliminated were like naturally left vacant or retirement or people in the department and they were trying to fill them?
Well, yeah, I mean, they may, I'm just saying when you're budgeting and you're saying, are they going to fill these positions? They're not going to fill it. Now, they come up with any justification they want, but I mean, you see 600, 800, they're not going to fill these positions, and that's why we eliminate the positions. I mean, yeah.
I want to say something. You know, you're making it seem like we're doing something we shouldn't be doing, okay? But no, the fake news is if the department has 100 people in it, and 2 retire within a year, they hire 2 more people. They don't need to get paid for another 10 or 15 or 20 additional people. You're trying to make this look misleading. That's what you're trying to do. What we're doing is we are stopping fraud. All these scams these departments have been doing for years and years and years, we're putting a stop to it, okay? Because people live in paycheck to paycheck. Everyone in the state wants us to do these things. They saw what Trump did, and they expect us to do the same thing, and we're doing it.
You still haven't.
Fake news.
So I will tell you, we will get the information we can, but it is very hard to get this information out of the departments. It's very, very difficult. We do have regular reports that we get, but they don't want to, thank you, they don't want to disclose the information. All right, and we can only do what we can. So we hope that you can partner with us, help us get more information on this. Certainly if a department needs employees, we want to see them equipped. We want somebody on the other end of the line to get an answer to their question when they call the state. We want people to believe in their state government and to get responses, to get the help in a timely manner, efficiently, and actually get the right answer. So, you know, we do want to partner on this and get information. But I will say what's missing in this equation, you look at it, not just unfilled FTEs, but in the last 6 years, there have been more than 1,700 positions increased, even though some positions aren't filled. So it is a bit of a whack-a-mole, but we'll see if we can't get any more information on that. But, you know, you got two things happening at the same time.
Okay, another scam, okay? We're talking about scams because we're discovering them almost every day. So within all these departments, you may have, you know, 2 or 3 administrators. And back in the Snyder years, each one of those administrators had 1 assistant, okay? Gretchen Whitmer got in office, and each one of these administrators or higher level paid employees that work for the state government, in all departments, they hired not just 1 administrator to help them out, they hired 3 and 4 assistants. So we have thousands of employees in the state of Michigan that we don't need because they were hired just to create more Democrat jobs, okay? That would be like a legislator, instead of us having 2 staff in the House, that would be like us hiring 8 more people to work in our office. That's happening too, and that's a scam we need to stop.
Wow. Yeah, you're uncovering all these things, doing a great job. Yeah, any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask about, we were talking about the hospital.
Yeah, the hospital scam. They call it QEP.
The Michigan Health and Hospital Association has put out a release that said an estimated 20,000 hospital jobs could be lost, leading to a $4.9 billion loss in the state's economy if this budget were to go through, which would be a 9% reduction in the direct hospital workforce. Can you address those concerns that Michigan hospitals have?
Yeah, first of all, they should replace their leader, Brian Peters. He's doing a terrible job. He's leading their organization. There's a lot of really good hospitals. There's a lot of really good hospital CEOs, but they have a very poor management of their association, and they're lying about our budget, and they're becoming very partisan, and they're
very greedy too.
Yeah, well, they're making some of them are making millions, these CEOs, but we should look up how much Brian Peters makes, but it's probably a couple million. But anyway, we look it up. We'll look it up.
You know, I want to talk about another thing that no one talks about with the hospitals, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, you know, hospitals all over Michigan, and everyone sees them along the highways, they are building these massive mausoleums, these huge, massive facilities, okay? And a lot of these hospitals, if they need to update their facility or if they need to add another, you know, 3,000 or 5,000 square feet in some of these smaller hospitals, they're adding 30,000 square feet. They are spending so much money in infrastructure that they don't need. And that's part of the problem, that they're so concerned about money, because they're getting greedy. Like you said, you know, a lot of these hospital people work for the hospitals. You know, these hospitals are still very profitable, but they want the taxpayers to pay everything else.
And I would just say, just that what they're doing is they're mad about the one big beautiful bill, and they're mad about the work requirements. And the one big beautiful bill is happening, and the work requirements are coming. We had work requirements for a little while. This shouldn't be such a big issue for them. Work requirements are coming, and we're going to preserve the Medicaid system so that it works for everybody. But you know, there's a lot of good problems that we can solve. We want to help hospitals. We're giving them $250 million. You don't see the release talk about that. And we just they should be more truthful about the problems so we can help them solve it, rather than every problem saying the same thing. They'll put out that press release over 340B. They'll put that, you know, whatever Trump does tomorrow, they'll probably put that out again. Is there something you wanted to add? Go ahead.
I just want to say we are absolutely committed to having affordable and accessible health care. all right? And the Medicaid reforms that have been proposed under one big beautiful bill, some of the speaker referred to are scams, but we are working very hard to make sure that our most vulnerable continue to be covered. And the hospitals are a partner in this. They should be. The providers, the hospitals, the emergency rooms, the pharmacies, all of these people, these professionals, we should all have that as our common goal, all right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to shut down the hospitals, leave people on the streets, not have people get the drugs that they need. We're trying to ensure that people have affordable and accessible health care, right? And what is reasonable, but it is grown out of control. And of course, they want to do this look back 2 and 3 months, but at what cost? We have to make the investment in the people. And that's what we're committed to do, and our budget does do that.
Good point.
Yeah, go ahead, Simon.
Yeah, Speaker Hall, I'm hoping to hold you to your pledge here as you call yourself the most transparent
Right.
speaker of all time. Walk me through your meeting with the Senate Majority Leader today. What were your exchanges like? What did you talk about? Why aren't you getting?
Well, I think I've laid a lot of it out today. I mean, you see, I think what's holding up our state budget from moving forward is the Senate doesn't have a roads plan. The Senate refuses to do transparency and earmarks. And they're trying to spend, probably $6 billion more than we have. I mean, they're almost $90 billion if you count it all up. And so they're very unbalanced, and they're spending more than we have, and they have no priorities. So that makes it a challenge. And I think that...
So to be clear, you're not willing to move forward in budget negotiations unless the Senate Democrats put forward a roads plan and conform to the House of Representatives on legislative directive spending.
Well, I think I'm explaining to you what the barriers are, right? I mean, the budget transparency has to happen. You see that we have an earmark transparency process. I showed you on the screen how they want to continue the status quo, and they don't want disclosure till after the bill's signed. That's a problem. I'm not going to sign up for another bill where we spend hundreds of millions of dollars that we don't know what it is until way after the bill's signed, and then you guys tell us what they are months later and we find out it was all scandalous. Let's disclose it now like we did. I want to negotiate from a position where they've made some of the tough decisions on their own before we negotiate. And also, I want to see them put a roads plan on the table. We've shown them all of our cards. Yeah, go ahead.
What are your thoughts on Representative Carr going to Lundy Township yesterday to kind of see what the public sentiment of the homeowners and just people in the community is?
Yeah, I thought that was great to see. You know, Representative Carr is doing a great job with his committee, holding the MEDC accountable. And we heard testimony from people that said that everyone in Mundy Township supports this. And I thought it was interesting when the journalists followed Steve Carra, they found a much different story. And he's going to continue to expose the problems with the corporate welfare. And that's why we eliminate SOAR. And we eliminate a lot of these programs. I'd say one area, we actually agree with the Senate on eliminating a lot of this business attraction fund. And so there's actually alignment with the Senate on eliminating a lot of these economic development programs and reallocating them to roads and other things. Yeah, anything else? I got to go in a sec, but go ahead, Simon.
Yeah, I'm curious, you know, some of these cuts, they have to go beyond waste fraud and abuse, right?
Yep.
Some of these programs are looking at like free diapers program and the road jobs fund. How would you categorize them? Those waste fraud?
Yeah, so like I said, we cut $5 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse, but overall I think it's something like $6.5 billion in cuts, roughly. Not everything we cut was waste, fraud, and abuse, but I think the decision that was made, and the Democrats try to say it's all me, but you know, you guys keep talking to our subcommittee chairs and they keep telling you that we're a very unified Republican Party. I mean, you know, having Matt Maddock play such a big role, I mean, looking at, you know, all of our members voting for this budget, that's something that's never happened before. You never had a first chamber budget that had unanimous support from the Republican caucus. It's never happened. And so, you know, it's really a team effort where every one of our chairs and subcommittee chairs and members contributed. And the decision was made that the roads, public safety, and education were more important. I mean, we put record money into education. We put record, almost $10 billion into roads, public safety, and so the decision was not that there's anything wrong with these things, it's just better spent there. And then when you look at the diaper fund, there's still $30 million in that line item that can be spent on the diaper fund and many things, and I think our subcommittee chairs thought that was enough. $30 million for things like that's probably enough.
I just want to say something really quick, because I think it's kind of comical, not really comical, but it's interesting that, we want to cut our budget, $6 million or $6 billion, and the Democrats want to increase our budget $6 billion. So if the Democrats win, we're going to have a $12 billion increase in pay for Lansing, and Michigan families aren't getting that kind of increase in pay, but hopefully we're going to be in a position to negotiate. We'll have the people behind us, and we need that. We need that everyone watching this and listening to this, if you're out in the public, you need to let your Democrat legislators know that this is the plan that you want. And if you're an independent, the same thing, because we're doing our best to make government as efficient and as good as possible. And I have to give credit to Hall, because this is the first time I've been here in many years that we've had an opportunity to cut like this, because previous leaders and speakers would not let us, cut much of anything. So thanks for all you're doing, and Ann, thanks for all you've done. You've been a great person to work with, and I'm excited. I have not been excited leaving Lansing, going home for very often. It's like 3 or 4 times a year, but almost every day I go home, I'm going home with a smile on my face, and everyone needs to know that.
Great. All right. Well, I'm gonna run it. Maybe is there anything else? Are we good? Anything else? All right. I got to do a teletown hall, so I'll see you guys. Hopefully we gave you something to cover, and thanks for being here and learning about the state budget. All right.